I decided to make a video since it's been at least 24 hours. So yeah, today is September the 6th, 2016. It is a Tuesday in the flow of death, of decay. It is 77 degrees inside my cage. We have the central air on. It was a hot and humid day outside, and last night I turned on the air conditioner and it's about 77 degrees in here. So yeah, so it is dark outside. On September the 22nd would be the first day of autumn. Autumn season. Summer has come to a close. And then we have autumn. Autumn is really pretty here in the Midwest. When we lived in Mississippi, when we lived in Texas, you didn't really see the change of seasons. But here you do in West Michigan. You see the summer, the fall, the winter, and the spring. But yeah, so I'm here to make a video. First I want to do an unboxing. I got a book in the mail that I ordered, and I thought people here in BookTube do an unboxing, and so I thought I'd open up in front of BookTubers. So I ordered this from Amazon. So yeah, I got this book today. And it is this book. It is Mad Enchantment, Claude, Monet, and the Painting of the Water Lilies by Ross King. He wrote The Judgment of Paris, which was one of my favorite books. Oh, the cover was really uninteresting. I didn't see that. This is the cover. You have Claude Monet, and this is he has a painting of the Japanese bridge. Maybe I'll show that in my next video, but this is the water lilies. You see here, the water lilies, and so yeah, he wrote The Judgment of Paris, which was one of my favorite books. It was called The Judgment of Paris, the revolutionary decade that gave the world Impressionism. Impressionism, the art period, Impressionism is one of my favorite periods of art, especially Monet and people like him. There's the picture of Monet there. I see him there. So I got this book in the mail. I don't know if they have the panoramic picture, but anyway, so that's what I got in the mail. So kind of a cool cover, isn't it? The Mad Enchantment, Claude Monet, Painting of the Water Lilies. So, got that in the mail today. So I got that. What have I been reading? Well, today, first in the morning, I'm still reading The Race Set Before Us, A Biblical Theology of Perseverance and Assurance by Thomas R. Snyder and Ardel B. Caneday. I'm reading that in the mornings. Usually I read this to about 11 till noon because I read the Bible along with it, and I write in my diary. And I mess with the computer, and I watch the birds, and I eat breakfast, and I drink coffee, and I fiddle fart around. So I don't read. I'm saying I don't read this straight through, for 3 hours. I'm on page 75, 344 pages. I might not even finish reading it, but right now that's what I'm reading in the mornings along with some other books. And I don't have my diary with me, but I think I'm on page 752 in my diary. Tomorrow is September the 7th, 2016. So I'm reading that in the mornings. Today I read, well, first of all, today this morning I left and visited thrift stores and I found these used books. And one of the books I've been reading today that I got this morning is called The Reader's Chapbook, a Compendium of Fact, Opinion, Wit, and Advice from the 20th Century's Preeminent Writers, edited from the Paris Review, interviews, and with introduction by George Plimpton. This is what I read mostly today when I wasn't messing with the computer, checking my email, reading the news, listening to music, watching BookTube. I read this. Now last night, before I went to bed, I was reading Mickelsson's Ghost by John Gardner, a novel. I've been reading this off and on. I'm on page 213. It has about 560 pages. It's okay. Another book I forgot to mention, I got 2 weeks ago that I forgot to mention, that I got another biography by Jenny Uglow, Hogarth, The Life and World. I mentioned that I've been reading her book, The Lunar Men. So yeah, I got this because, as you know, I have other books on Hogarth, William Hogarth, who was an 18th century painter and engraver there in London. This is a biography of Hogarth by David Blyman. This is The World of Hogarth, Lynchburg's Commentaries, an ingenious reading of the tales found in Hogarth's engravings. And also in this book, Voltaire's England. It has up here Hogarth's engravings in this book. So yeah, I wanted to, let's look at a really interesting biography, 18th century. It's only $1.98. So I got that. As you know, those who watch my BookTube, I love biographies, memoirs, letters, autobiographies, things like that. So maybe I'll get around to reading this someday. Someday I should make a video of all the biographies that I have bought over the years that I've never read. So yeah, I went to thrift stores. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention is these books here. These came to my mind because I was watching a video in BookTube, and it talked about diversity and all that. And one thing I wanted to say is that for many years, as I've said in the past, I didn't read secular literature. I was going to Bible college. I was going to seminary. And then when I did read novels, I was reading John Updike, or I was reading John Irving, or I read the Jack Kerouac, the Beatnik writers, poetry by Ginsberg, the writings of William Burroughs. Well, I read biographies of Jack Kerouac, his letters, and Ginsberg's, any books about the beats, the biographies, literary studies. And I read, as I've said, I got into Christian mysticism. I got into the 13th century spiritual writers and the Carthusians, and I got into St. John of the Cross and his collected works, and but I didn't read women writers. And then, because there weren't, I don't know why I didn't read women writers, but then when we moved up here to Michigan about 26, 27 years ago, there was some time period when I started reading the British writer Iris Murdoch, and then I really got into Joyce Carol Oates, and then I got into Susan Sontag, and I got into all kinds of women writers. The point I want to say is that I would say literature today is predominantly by women. There are not that many men writers today. I mean, serious men writers. There might be men who are writing science fiction, writing fantasy, writing crime novels, thrillers. There might be, academic books, nonfiction books dealing with history, biography. But I'm talking about, I'd say most books today, as far as fiction, is by women. So I don't think that, when I saw this video today, they said that the predominantly was being published today is white male novels by white males who are middle class, and I don't agree with that. I think there's more diversity today in publishing. I mean, there are a lot of black writers, there are a lot of women writers, a lot of today you have a whole genre of gay literature. Here I know in Grand Rapids there is gay bookstores devoted to queer literature, lesbian literature. So I don't think that in the literary world it's predominantly only males who are white and who are middle class that get published by publishing companies. I think there's a more diversity today. Now, maybe that's not so true as it was in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, but I'd say there's been a change. So I just want to bring that out. And one of the books that came to my mind in thinking about that was The Feminization of American Culture by Anne Douglas. And she brings out how our culture has been feminized, and she traces the historical and cultural roots of that. So I recommend this book, Feminization of American Culture, How the Victorian Alliance Between Women in the Clergy and Popular Literature to which that alliance gave birth fostered a sentimental society in the beginning of the modern mass culture. So I recommend this. So I do think that our literature today is predominantly feminized. I don't think it's masculine. That's just my own opinion. No, I'm not saying that's bad, not saying that's good. I just think that's what's going on today. So, and Anne Douglas also wrote this book that I really want to mention too, The Terrible Honesty, Mongrel Manhattan in the 1920s by Anne Douglas. This is a good book too. So I went to thrift stores this morning and I picked up this book, The Beach, A History of Paradise. This is a cultural study on the phenomena of going to the beach, what the whole history of beaches. So I got that, and I got these are stories by Charles Baxter, Relative Stranger. This is a novel by Stewart Onan. All these people that I'm mentioning, I collect their writings, and that's why I got them today. This is Stewart Onan, The Odds, a love story, a novel. These are Ho Jin. He's a writer I collect. He's famous for his book Waiting, his novel Waiting, winner of the National Book Award. This is his stories, Bridegroom. This is a writer I've never heard of. He's an Irish writer. He was once on the long list of the Booker Prize. Sebastian Perry. This is his novel On Canaan's Side. He's written a lot of novels. I never heard of him, but this looked interesting, and I got that today. His most popular book is called Secret Scripture, so I'm going to start looking for him, collecting his writings. I collect the writings of Jim Harrison, American writer. This is Novellas, The Brown Dog. This is the Australian writer Peter Carey, his novel Jack Maggs. I had this in an old vintage paperback. This is almost a brand new hardback edition. I got this for $1. And then I picked up a novel by the very famous Argentina, South American writer. He's Ernesto Sambato. The Angel of Darkness. This was translated out of Spanish by Andrew Hurley. I often don't see his writings. He's famous for his novel The Tunnel and on Heroes and Tombs. I was pleased to find a novel by him. For those who know me, I really enjoy reading the writers, South American writers, Spanish writers, Portuguese, French, Italian, Japanese, Israeli, African. I like reading novels outside of literary America. I like diversity. I just don't read books by middle-class white males. If anything, I read from all kinds of social backgrounds, sexual orientation. I look at novels for their literary, value. I mean, to me, if it looks good, I read it. So yeah, I wanted to mention, I did a review a while back about Nell Zink, her novel The Wall Creeper. I've not read her novel yet, Mislaid by Nell Zink. I found out that they're publishing her new novel. It's called Nicotine's coming out. But also she wrote a novel a long time ago, and she wrote this novel when she was married to some Israeli and she was living in Israel, and she wrote this novel and it's being published. It's called Private Novelist Fiction. It says, it's described here in Amazon, from the brilliant and incisive author of Mislaid, a writer of extraordinary talent and range, Jonathan Franzen, whose capacity for invention is immense. Book Forum. I recommend the website Book Forum. I read it all the time. Comes a new collection of her earliest work, 2 wildly funny novellas, Sailing Towards the Sunset by Aver Satz and European Story for Aver Satz, available in 1 compact volume. Years ago, Nell Zink resolved to write a book for her friend, the Israeli novelist Avner Statz, that would mirror his remarkable style. Unable to read his Hebrew, she was forced to start from scratch. Now this tongue-in-cheek homage is available to Nell's growing readership for the first time, accompanied by a second dazzling and imaginative work that breathes at Stat's request the perfumed air of the old Europe and stars a figure very much like Stat's. So if you're a fan of Nell Zink, I pre-ordered this book because I'm kind of curious. Now, I gave mixed reviews about The Wall Creeper, but I haven't given up on her. So that's what's going on here in my book world. I'm hoping you're having a good week, and I don't know what else I want to share tonight. So I'll close until next time. Bye.